Namaste, beautiful friends. This is Elle with Sacred Union Spiritual Wellness, a channel dedicated to enhancing and uplifting your spiritual well-being. Okay, so today is a twin flame talk, and we're going to talk about the mission. You always hear in the twin flame community the mission. Well, what is the mission? So let's get started. This is video number 2 on my series regarding twin flame and twin flame energies. So it's really important that you listen to all of these videos. So I will link the video here for talk number 1. All right, let's get started. What is the mission? Well, a lot of people believe that when you come into union with your twin, then you go off and you do these amazing things that are going to benefit humanity. Okay, well, that might be for some twins, but that is definitely not for all twins. So what is the mission? Because the mission has to be relevant for all twin flames across the board. The mission is the alchemical process. Twin flames is an alchemical process, and the flame is the element of fire. Fire is what burns away the impurities. So if you think about the alchemical process, you burn away any impurity so you get to absolute pure elemental being, and that way you can create from a place of purity. And when you meet your twin flame, it begins this alchemical process. And as I go through this talk, it's definitely going to hit you all of these components and how it contributes to mission. So when you get that aha moment, please leave me a comment. All right, so we're going back to the fire element. You know, anytime you think of anything in a lab and you're burning away the impurities to get to that pure element, that absolute fundamental element, then the rest is burned off. And when we're talking about the burning away of something in the twin flame connection, it is about ego. The ego is the impurity. The ego is what it needs to be transmuted, because anything that was created from ego is impure, and it needs to be burned away, because the only manifestation that is in alignment with the greater good, with all of humanity, with the oversoul, with your soul, and with God or source energy, is created from love. The vibration of love is the creation that impacts everything in a positive way. If it was created from ego, it is going to be burned away in the alchemical process, because it's not pure, it's not in alignment, and it pollutes the love energy. So that's why the twin flame, and I want to say moniker or concept or image, is including a flame, because it is that flame that burns away the impurities in the alchemical process. Okay, so let's say you meet your twin flame and you get this ignition. It is an ignition of your awareness, of your consciousness becoming activated, because without your consciousness, the alchemical process cannot happen. That's why they say that your twin flame's purpose is to come in and wake you up. so that you can go through this alchemical process as part of your ascension journey. Remember, if you're not in the alignment of love, you cannot ascend. So you meet your twin and you start to go through these stages. And the first stage is the soul recognition. And then you go through that, getting to know the bubble love phase. We've all been there. That's that beautiful love phase. Why? That's the fuel. That bubble love phase is like a storage reserve tank of fuel, so that when you go through the dark night of the soul in separation, that is the fuel that will be the catalyst and the energy source for the alchemical burning away process, the purification. Sounds uncomfortable, but bear with me. There's a purpose, and it will make sense. Okay, so you go through this dark night of the soul. You go after the bubble love phase. There's going to be some triggering. There's going to be a separation. I'll do a whole video on the stages of twin flames. But in that separation, you're going to be confronted with your ego. Your ego is the contrast. There is no contrast in 5D. So in order for the contrast to be eliminated, the ego to be purified through the alchemical process, you have to become aware. And through that awareness, you will go through the dark night of the soul, which is what they call ego death. It's ego purification. It's the eradication of the ego or anything that was created out of ego. Why? Because it's contrast. You can't ascend to 5D when you are still in the energy of the contrast. Love is the vibration. Ego is the contrast. So ego provides you what isn't love. Anything built out of ego is not built out of love. So during that dark night of the soul, and it's really going to, the impact of that, the intensity of that is going to be dependent on how much ego you are living from and what you have built out of ego. All of that is going to be, that's all going to collapse. Those are those tower moments in the tarot. It's all going to be what's the word I'm looking for? Disassembled. Deconstructed. It will be deconstruction of anything that was built out of ego. Why? Because you can't be in the vibration of unconditional love, which is the vibration of ascension, which is alignment with your soul, your oversoul, and God or source. You can't be in that energy if you are still under the influence of ego, contrast. So all of that will be burned away during the dark night of the soul, and the intensity, the impact, and how long that lasts is dependent on how much you have built from contrast. Okay, so the twin flame awakens your awareness. And this is important because when you become aware of kind of the fundamental laws of the universe, the law of attraction. You attract what you put out. And so what you start then is the rebuilding of your energy from positions of balance. Remember, the universe is always striving for equilibrium at all times. There is always going to be an effort to stabilize through equalization. So equilibrium is the energy you want to be in. And that is the equilibrium of your conscious and your unconscious or your subconscious, masculine, feminine energies, active or receptive. And so what this does is it creates an energetic balance, and that creates the magnetism. So from that energy of balance, the polarity, the north pole, the south pole of a magnet, you then get to a position of balance. This is the beginning of the manifestation process, which is what you want to be in from that love vibration, so that what you manifest is enduring, is beneficial, is benefic. So you want to be in the vibration of creation for a benefit to all, for the highest good. And that can only come from the vibration of love, not ego, love. So when we're in the vibration of love, what we create from that vibration not just benefits us, but it benefits all. It benefits the energy of all. That's our mission. But the mission of twin flames is the alchemical process of burning away the impurities to get to your authentic self, to be able to ignite that source energy within you, to co-create from just imagine, source isn't going to create from ego. You need to be in alignment of unconditional love or love vibration in order to be able to co-create from source. Because without being in that vibration, there is no equilibrium between you and source. Your twin is your transformational change agent. They activate your alchemical process. They activate your transmutation of old karma, things that need to be healed. What are those things? Some of the things that need to be transmuted in order for twin flames to help install a new template, or a template of love without ego. That's the new template. That's the template of unconditional love. Love without ego. Love without contrast. There is no contrast in the 5D. There is no contrast in dimensions higher than the third dimension. So in order for that contrast to be eliminated, it must be addressed in the 3D. That's why twins incarnate in two separate bodies. It's so that they can confront the contrast in order to transmute the old egoic energies and templates. Now, some of these things are based upon old karmic contracts. And let me see if these sound familiar to you. There are certain types of karmic contracts that you have experienced in multiple lifetimes before this incarnation. And this is the time that we transmute the after effects or the outcomes of those old karmic contracts in order to be purified, burned away, so that we can install a new template of unconditional love. So we have like victim perpetrator contracts. You have lived this in some lifetime, and there is karma that needs to be settled or burned away or eliminated in order for unconditional love to be able to be manifested. Abandonment, betrayal, toxic relationships, unhealthy attachment, and that is like codependency, manipulative, competitive. These are types of karmic relationships that you have participated in over lifetimes so that you could learn the contrast of what unconditional love is not. So in this journey, what you end up doing in this alchemical process is you become aware of those kind of old karma contracts and the residual effects of those, so that you can be able to clear that karma, heal that old pattern. Because when that old pattern is healed and the awareness becomes the focus, unconditional love relationships will flourish, and these types of old karmic relationships will wither and just kind of become extinct. So how do we do that? What process do we use? Well, one of them is acknowledging the patterns. What patterns have you been in before in your relationships? There will be vestiges of all of these in your current relationships. You will have gone through many relationships in your lifetime, in this current lifetime, in this current incarnation, that will have vestiges of these. So you acknowledge, oh yeah, I have a pattern of falling into codependent relationships, or I attract narcissists, because you haven't resolved the narcissistic karma. Something that you were exposed to or participated in a previous lifetime. Take responsibility. Empower yourself. Once you become aware, now that's why that awareness is so important in the twin flame wake-up call, is because without that awareness, this work doesn't become possible. And without this work, the alchemical process can't happen. So take responsibility. Did you participate as the victim or the perpetrator? Did you participate in abandonment? Did you participate in betrayal? Did you participate in toxic relationship patterns? Did you participate in unhealthy attachment? That is a big indicator in twin flame relationships. That is going to rise to the surface in most cases. Unhealthy attachment. When you have attachment to something, it gives power, that something power over you. That's not sovereignty. And you cannot ascend without sovereignty. Have you participated in manipulative behaviors? Have you participated in competition? All of these are ego-based. So we acknowledge the pattern, we take responsibility, and then we take action. Part of that action is letting go and releasing. Once you become aware of an old pattern of behavior that does no longer serve you, you then can release it and say, I'm not going to fall back into that. But without that awareness, without that awakening, you would not be able to make those decisions and empower yourself to release this karma through the alchemical process, through the twin flame. Not everybody needs a twin flame in order to do this, but you knew you would before you came here. All right, let's go back to twin flame talk. Give me just a second to find my notes. So we're back to the balance. Once you become aware and you start the alchemical process, the impurities or the ego, the contrast is going to be burned away. Why? Because you don't need it when you ascend, and you cannot ascend with it. You can only ascend without it. So you have to go through that dark night of the soul. If you don't go through dark night of the soul, you're not in a twin flame relationship. You're in a soulmate. That's it. Bottom line. Because the twin flame is the alchemical process. The flame signifies the burning away of old karma, old ego, and anything in your life that was built with ego, that serves the ego, has to go. It has to go. So the twin flame comes in and ignites that. And then you go through that dark night of the soul. Remember, the bubble love phase is that storage reserve fuel. That's when you build up your fuel reserves to keep the fire burning as long as it takes to go through this alchemical process. So what emerges? Unconditional love. Unconditional love is love without ego. So I have a little graphic here. Not even a graphic, just a visual. This is the twin flame energy. We have two hearts. They're red. They're on fire. They're going through the alchemical process. That is the passion. That passion is the spark that ignites the fuel from the bubble love phase so that you have enough fuel to go through the dark night of the soul in the burning away of the ego, in the egoic structures. So what comes out is unconditional love, divine source love. The divine source spark in you has been purified to be in unconditional love so that you can co-create with source energy for things that are going to be benefic to all mankind, to all beings in the universe, to source itself. That is the mission. To co-create from unconditional love in alignment with source, because whatever you co-create from that energy benefits everything in the universe. Everything. Everything. That is your mission. Earth, one more point. Earth is the place where all of this alchemical process has to happen, because there is no contrast in the 5D. So it has to be eliminated here in the 3D. The 3D, the earth, is the 3D printer of the energies. So whatever energies are being manifested from, the earth is where it's kind of like printed out. It's made real. Now, if it's created from ego, it's not in alignment with source. And just imagine how much of our reality is created from ego. Just think of how much our reality is created from ego. And slowly, all of that is going through the alchemical process. And twin flames are here to lead that effort, because you then serve as an example to others. You then lift the vibration because you've gone through that alchemical process. You're in the vibration of love. You're in alignment with source. And that affects everyone in your circle, in your energetic circle. It ripples out. Twin flames lead that alchemical process. And it doesn't even sound comfortable, but it's necessary. So in order to transmute all of this contrast, it has to be dealt with in the 3D. It has to be alchemized, transmuted in the 3D. And that's what you came here to do. But that's not the mission. The mission is to get into the vibration of love. Allow the alchemical process. Come into balance. Come into alignment with source. And co-create from there. Because what you co-create has far-reaching impacts, enduring impacts on humanity, on the planet, on the solar system, on the universe, and on source. And that can only happen from your purest self. All right, I think that's all I needed to say in this talk. Please post your comments and questions below. I'll be happy to answer them. If there's a topic that you need me to address in another video after I do the series, I will be happy to do that. I am here to be of service to you. I am Elle with Sacred Union Spiritual Wellness, hoping that this helped you to get clarity on the twin flame alchemical process and what your mission actually is. Until next time, namaste. Thank you so much for your likes, your subscribing to my channel, and your very kind comments. I hope you found this video helpful. Please check out my other videos for other messages that will help you enhance your spiritual well-being. I'm Elle, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you again. Until then, my dear friends, namaste.